Hello, friends. It's Auntie Chris, and if you're new to the channel, good news. So am I. Like and subscribe and share and all that, but mostly leave comments. I love comments so much, and follow me on Instagram, Cool Auntie Chris. Um, Feel free to hum your favorite theme song. Um, as you can see, I still haven't figured out editing and adding nifty things like intros and title cards and all that. The budget has increased, however, because now I have more cue cards, right? I'm going to go ahead and read them out loud for the folks who are just listening. This channel comes with a content advisory. It is not intended for younglings because it may contain any or all of the following: objectionable images, off-color language, complex themes, inexpert opinions, and regrettable artistic choices. Inexpert opinions and regrettable artistic choices will probably come up way more frequently than the others. Additionally, as I said, it's unedited. Feel free to increase your playback speed as you see fit. And now, ya vámonos. Let's go. Today's show is finally my take on the Unpopular Opinions Coloring Edition as set forth by at Color Mama 360 here on YouTube. I have no idea who I saw it from first. I've watched a million of these now, and I am happy to say that many of our unpopular opinions collectively seem to match up pretty well in general. But do keep in mind that whatever I say here is my personal opinion, and though in some cases I do feel quite strongly, um, my opinions are subject to change with new information, and I will never ever make judgments about anyone who holds an opposing viewpoint. That said, before we get started, I want to let you know I'm going to go ahead and attempt to color some of these pictures here that are pages out of an older book called Outside the Lines. This was back when I used to take my books apart so that I could scan the pictures and have them just in case. Now I have enough books, I think, that I don't feel like I need to do that anymore. So this book is really interesting, though. I do recommend that you find it. Hopefully, we can find a flip through of it somewhere. But if you happen to find it on Amazon or in a sale somewhere, pick it up because admittedly, it's got a lot of pages that I have absolutely no idea how a person would color them, but it's got a lot of interesting pages like these. So let's just flip through these real quick, um, just to see which one I feel like doing the most. They're all different, but on the back of each page, um, the artist who drew it is credited, along with it's given a title, the artist name, the copyright information, and a website where the artist can be found. Let's see. That's interesting, huh? I love this one. I've been not coloring this for about 10 years because it's just so cute. I don't want it to be the only time I color it. This is a landscape one. That's interesting. So yeah. I'm not going to be doing anything special or fancy with these today. I want to be able to focus on answering the questions. And if I pick something that I'm really, really trying to do a great job with, then I will not focus on the questions, and that will be awful. So yeah. All right. Let's start. Let's start with this silly crayons page. Yeah. Okay. So I am going to be working with my alcohol markers, which is really strange for me because I hardly ever do that anymore. These are going to be, they're really of no interest to anybody, but just in case, these are Artify Expert Series. I got them a few years ago. I don't think you can get them anymore. And they're not a brush. There's a bullet and an interesting chisel tip. It's a really sort of skinny chisel tip, and that's why I liked them. So, and this was the 48-piece boho set. Anyway, like I said, I don't think you can get them anymore, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do something that nobody else has done yet. And I'm going to give you the short answer version to the questions before I talk about the questions. Because here's the thing. These questions, they're not easy. They're not simple. The true and false section, it's not rapid fire. Everything requires an explanation. So, the short answers are here to the first set of questions. All right. Okay, so let's get started with the coloring. I'm not sure which way this goes. Let's say it goes this way. And I'm going to just pick a color. Okay, so the first question. Yes, I do have them on little cards. What is a super popular coloring book that you just don't connect with? I am at a disadvantage with this question. Pardon me being left-handed, but this is how things have to be. I'm at a disadvantage with this question because I do not have a lot of experience, I guess, with the super popular coloring books. There was a time when I bought some coloring books, and then there were several years when I didn't buy any coloring books, and now I'm buying coloring books again. But in the time that passed, uh, coloring books got really big and popular and whatever. See here, I'm already screwing up being able to speak. um, so I've seen a bunch of coloring books online. I've seen flip throughs and things, but I don't really go out shopping in actual stores that frequently, and they don't let you see the coloring book pages on Amazon. Um, so I don't really know. I don't have a super popular coloring book in mind. I will say that I don't tend to connect with the ones that are like specifically holiday themed. Like a winter coloring book is fine. A springtimey sort of a coloring book is fine. But if it's like Christmas, 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 or Easter, 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 that kind, like I can't. I don't care that much. I will happily, if there is a holiday themed page in a coloring book, that's great. And I think I have a couple of coloring heavens that are like one is Halloween and one is Christmas, I guess. But like those are magazines, you know. Um, I guess I hold them to a different standard. Um, but yeah, like a proper coloring book probably needs to be a little bit more variable, I suppose. than just 40 to 80 pages of Christmas. So, uh, right. Question number 2. Um, I don't have a preference between simple or highly detailed pages. I like a well-composed page. I like an interesting page. And I like exciting subject matter or interesting subject matter. So, do pardon the noisy dogs. Let me just pause. Sorry about that. Anyhow, I think I was talking about well-composed pages and or interesting subject matter. I think that highly detailed and very simple pages are both extremes are cool. They they both offer their own kind of opportunities um, for creativity. You know, like this is a super simple page here, and I can make all of these crayons the same color. I can make them all different colors. Whatever. But I can work with I can put a wood grain in this desk or add some sort of a shine to it to make it look like it's made of stainless steel. I can color, this bit here. This may be not the desk. Maybe this is paper and I just screwed up the whole page. And this is the desk. Awesome. Good job, me. Yep. So, yep, no preference because I'm going to find a way to booger it up no matter what. All right, question 3. Do you prefer alcohol markers or colored pencils? 100% I prefer colored pencils. I am using alcohol markers right now, actually, because I want to be able to concentrate on answering questions, and I really don't care what the alcohol markers are going to come out looking weird and silly anyways, so it's fine. I can put this page away and never care about it again. I don't like, we'll probably get into this a little bit later on, but, I don't love the plastic. I don't love the plastic of an alcohol marker. I don't love that the color inside is like never, ever, ever the color of the cap. I don't like that they can be incredibly expensive. Um, even the ones, even Copics and Ohuhus, super duper, you can get refills for them. That's outstanding. But what is, I don't have a paper under here. That was silly. That was, what was I going to say? Ohuhu, Copic, refills, plastic. Oh, that's a good idea. I do know that like Copics were developed because um, the art markers, they were like, what were they? What were they like? Commercial, like advertising, um, you know, markers for. I think they were just like called poster markers or something. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, I know that Copics were developed to because those markers were incredibly toxic and could like kill you. So that's great. But and they have a really good color system and all that stuff and whatever. But nevertheless, they are, for my purposes, alcohol markers are sort of irritating and not, they're just not my favorite. I like I like colored pencils, especially the kinds that I can blend with water. Okay, let's try to speed things up a little bit. Number 4, is it okay to have whips or no? Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's okay to have whips. Oh boy. If not, I'm in big trouble. Not that I would consider every single unfinished page to be a whip. Some of them are just not done yet. I feel like a work in progress should actually be something that's in progress, like you're working on it, like it's still on the desk, sort of, you know. And if it's not on the desk, then it's just an unfinished page, and maybe you'll finish it at some point, and maybe you won't, and that's okay. Number 5, what is one illustrator or style that isn't for you? Again, I don't really have any. I can't name an illustrator in particular whose work isn't for me. I haven't had enough exposure to the various coloring book illustrators that are out there. I could rattle off a whole big bunch that I'd love to have a crack at, but none that make me go, huh? As far as style goes, see, for me, it's really more about subject matter. I know that I don't super enjoy the real doodly, Zentangly things. I no longer really enjoy mandalas, things like that. And I don't really get into the cute and cozy section of things. But I mean, if there was a cute and cozy Shakespeare, I would probably color it. If there was a Zen doodle, I don't know, what do I like? If there was like a Zen doodle Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I would probably color it, you know. So yeah. So I think that probably answers that then. I don't super love Zen doodly stuff or cozy, cute and cozy stuff, but if the subject matter was there and if I could verify that it was drawn by an actual human being, I'd probably give it a try. Number 6, do you think adult coloring books are getting too repetitive? I do not, and let me tell you why. When I was a kid, okay, I was born in 1976, so when I was coloring, as a way to not get in trouble, um, it was all like cartoon characters and stuff like that. Fine. When I got older and I still enjoyed coloring, all the coloring books were still Scooby-Doo or the Flintstones or whatever, and it was on that crappy paper that's like newsprint mixed with construction paper, real gritty and like a gray brown color that was terrible. And even though it was a color, white still would never show up on it. I mean, anyway, then we got Dover coming up with their art coloring books, right? Awesome. But that was it for a long time. Then there was Joanna Basford. Johanna, I don't know what her name is. Anyways, then there was Basford. And then a whole bunch of stuff came out, but it was still like florals and mandalas and paisleys and things like that. But today, man, there's still all that stuff, but there's fashions and there's official like merch books that are aligned with different media properties, video games and TV shows and things like that. There's stuff about they're like half educational. there's this stuff that's like abstracts that are just, no, I do not think that coloring books are getting too repetitive. I do kind of think that what's popular is starting to feel a little repetitive. Um, what saves those, what saves Hannah Carlson and was it Christine Karen and the others? What saves those from getting boring is the fact that everybody colors them differently. What a great time to be a grown up who likes to color pictures. Am I right? Oh my gosh. There are so many genres. Okay, number 7. Are limited edition / hard to find books overhyped? Um, I don't know. Limited edition, probably not. They're probably not overhyped. Um, they're limited edition. They want to sell them. They got to hype them up to make it worth having done a limited run. Hard to find. I don't know. Where does the hype come from? Is the hype creating the rarity, or is the rarity creating the hype? I don't know. But that's the way it is with rare items. Is that the people who know about them um, make them famous, they give them this extra value. The people give extra value to these hard to find things um, by talking about how hard to find they are, I think. Number 8, are color alongs overrated or underrated? I need to pick another color here. Here. They're neither. I think they are neither overrated nor underrated. Pardon me. Because they, a color along is a tutorial, right? It's people teaching other people how to do something. And teaching is historically an endeavor that requires a huge personal investment and comes out with not much of a tangible reward. I think that most teachers would, at least they would say, oh, if I manage to teach one student something, then I will have done my job. Okay. And that's kind of where things land, I think, with color alongs, is that you have the people who are making them, putting in an awful lot of work and an awful lot of time for which they don't get compensated. And you have the people requesting them who really, really want to watch them and really, really want to learn from them. There just aren't that many people actually interested in being part of the class. I think that creators value color alongs, value the work that goes into a color along. I just don't, they're not going to be as big of a draw anymore. I don't know if they ever were. I like watching color alongs, but I don't really ever watch the whole thing. I think they're great to zone out too. Same with like big long swatching videos, hours and hours. I could do hours and hours of that. Number 9. Is that right? Yeah, number 9. Oh boy. What is your opinion on overconsumption in the coloring world? It exists, and it is complex. I have to stop coloring to talk about this. Okay. Overconsumption in terms of like overspending one's own buying decisions, purchasing power, etc. Like I'm less concerned about that. I mean, the whole thing is circular, obviously, but I'm less concerned about how someone is spending, how much someone is acquiring, than I am about the the supply chain, the production, the environmental impact, and then ultimately this the sort of economic impact. Okay, so we want lots of stuff, and lucky for us, lots of stuff is available. We have a wealth of different kinds of pencils and markers and paints and papers and books and so on and so forth. And you know, and if you can't afford, you know, one set, certainly there's another set that you can afford. There's a set that's 500 and some odd colored pencils that's, I don't know how much it is, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, I don't know, it's ridiculous. But but how are they being made? This is my this is my thing with overconsumption. It's more to do with the means of production. I know that Faber-Castell owns a forest. They are transparent about their carbon footprint, their emissions, they obviously they're not, giving away the formula to their pencils, but you know, you can look at Faber-Castell and you can be assured that, they are doing their best um, to uphold some really stringent sustainability efforts. They own a forest from which they make the casings for their pencils. They are a big company. They have, early dibs on pigment batches, so they're gonna have they're gonna have good pigments in their products. Um, there are, similar things can be said about these like legacy brands or heritage brands or whatever you want to call them. Uh, Derwent and Faber-Castell and Caran d'Ache, and to some extent Prismacolor and Holbein. Um, but but you don't know with the other ones. They're just milling out the pencils. It's more the concern comes from a place. It's not just the white labeling issue, and the fact that this set of 520 pencils may be exactly the same as this other set of 520 pencils, but you're never going to know because they have different names on. It's more even than that. It's that we don't know where they're getting their materials. We don't know whether or not the conditions in their factories are favorable to the workers. Um, how can you make however many sets of 520 pencils and price them at $60 a pop and still pay people? That that is that is a part of this notion of overconsumption that is incredibly concerning to me, is that there is an effect on the humans who are in the assembly lines, basically, um, and and the earth from which somewhere they're getting their materials. Um, there's, I don't know. I mean, and then yes, and then it comes back to the consumer. Um, you know, some people buy way more than they will ever use. I've probably bought way more than I'll ever use, and I don't think of myself as an overconsumer. I don't have very many sets of anything. Um, but but that's, what how you spend is your own business. How you store your items, how you use your items, that's your own business. Um, I just really, really hope that whatever your spending habits are, my hope is that the people in, well, people in general, but specifically to the arts community and the coloring community, I just want us to at least be mindful of the fact that our products are being manufactured somewhere and people are involved in that manufacture. And do we care about where the materials came from? Do we care about how the workers are being treated? In our coloring books, do we care if the paper has an FSC label on it? These kinds of things. I just, beyond people's personal finances, beyond even the question of AI, like, are we doing our best to support the people that are creating the supplies that we use? And that is my really short and really um, all over the place sort of thinking about overconsumption. Um, I could keep going on about it, but I'm not going to. Okay, and then number 10, what is one supply that you don't think is worth the money? The answer I wrote on my little TLDR sheet is the one you can't afford, which doesn't necessarily mean, that expensive supplies aren't worth the money. What I mean by that is that, if you run out of a pencil and it was your favorite color, but you bought a set that doesn't have open stock, then you need to either buy another entire set or hope that you can find a pencil that is the right color that feels the same from an open stock source. And I feel like I could afford to spend $60 one time to buy a pack of cheap pencils, but I wouldn't want to do it twice, not to get the same pencils. My $60 is not necessarily the same as your $60. Maybe you have more money than me, and $60 is nothing to you. Maybe you have less money than me, in which case I feel super sorry for you, and $60 is a ridiculous amount for you. Um, uh, Man, so I think, in general, the supply you can't afford, the one you can't refill or replace when you run out of it, etc. I think that is the supply that is not worth the money. Specifically for me, um, specifically for me, the color cubes, the version 2 of the color cubes, were not worth the money. I had purchased the first ones, and I assumed that the collection would maybe expand, but I was it turned out to be a set that um, I can't refill. I can't expand it. I to I have to have a whole different set if I wanna use the supply that is now being created. So bad luck for me. There's that. Okay. Switch colors again. And then we're going to go to the rapid fire true and false questions. What color do we want? Let's pick this one. Here are the answers to my true and false. As you can see, I can't simply answer them true or false. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm bored of this page. What else do we got? Let's go over here. Let's do this little dino guy. That'll be good. All right. So, these are 7 questions. I have called them 11 through 17. And the first is, number 11, I suppose, is a true or false. You don't need to swatch supplies. True, but you're gonna. You are going to scribble on a piece of scratch paper to the side when you're in the middle of coloring. You're going to try to put together a color combination or a palette of some kind. You're going to wind up swatching your supplies. You don't need to. I feel like that's supposed to be a bush, and I just colored it blue. Oh well. You may not need to create a super scientific-y, Munsell color theory, systematic cross-referenced, color chart with variants and tints and tones and shades and all that. But you're gonna swatch something at some point. I'm pretty sure, in my experience, and I'm a swatcher, but in my experience, the only materials I've ever purchased that I didn't need to swatch were oil pastels, because they are the color that they are. Yeah, but it's not just a matter of looking, of swatching to get a color range or a picture of the color, I guess. It's, if there's a pencil that's broken or a marker that wasn't fully capped before it was closed up in the box, and now it's all dried out, like, you're not going to know that until you go to actually use that marker, that pencil. So it's good to, swatch, even if the point of the swatch isn't, to create a record of the colors that were received. And to quote the lovely Axic Fumbles, it's like saying hello to your pencils. And who doesn't want to say hello to their pencils? Number 12. Cute and cozy books are worth the hype. True. I believe that they are worth the hype. I don't have any desire to color in one, but I believe that they are worth the hype. They, they got more people coloring. They got more people, they created a new entry point into this hobby. And, they're not, I don't think they're very cool. Although, I've seen a couple of really cool ones. Now that they've been out long enough, people are starting to make sort of irreverent, cute and cozy books. And I like that. But yeah, they get people. They brought in some fresh blood, and I say, with the AI caveat, more power to any illustrator who can make a living drawing coloring books and doing their art. Yeah. Number 13, collecting coloring books is part of the hobby. No. False. It is not a part of the hobby. It's an offshoot, I would say, of the hobby. But there's to my mind, there's a difference between acquiring coloring books for coloring in, um, and collecting something to to keep like as an investment, or to keep because you like the line work. I mean, if you're just talking about like acquiring books, you know, um, then obviously yes, it's part of the hobby. Is if you want to color in coloring books, you have to get some coloring books. Um, there are going to be folks who want to have a whole big bunch of coloring books or every new book that comes out. And there are going to be the folks who only like the coloring books that have flowers or birds or, I don't know, portraits or whatever. But they're going to acquire some books. So I don't think that becoming a collector is part of the hobby, no. But I believe that having books at hand is definitely part of the hobby. Number 14, you need social media to really be able to participate in the coloring community. Yes, I say that that is true. There's certainly nothing weird about like a lone wolf colorist who doesn't bother with putting stuff out on Instagram or whatever. But unless you have friends who like to color, or I don't know, how did people meet people before social media? Like they went to church, um, or out to bars. Sometimes there were bulletin boards, like at the grocery store. So I guess if you go to a place where there's like bulletin boards and somebody has, a notice up on the bulletin board that says, coloring club, everybody welcome, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like that's kind of social media too. It's just not on the line. Anyways, that's semantics. Yes. Yeah. So unless there's some sort of like local, tangible thing that where you can tear a phone number off of a thing or whatever, you probably need social media um, to participate in the coloring community, even if it's just your local coloring community. I don't know, Cleveland colorists or something. I don't even know if there is a Cleveland colorist. It was the first alliterative thing I could think of. So yes, uh, you don't need to start a YouTube channel. You don't need to necessarily put your own work on Instagram, but to have a sense of community and see other people's work, you have to have some sort of social media so that you can go in and look at it and maybe even venture to click a like button here and there. Number 15, coloring is not something you do at the same time as other things. Oh my gosh. False. I can do other things while I'm coloring. I just can't do them well. Coloring has to be the main thing. So I can listen to things. I can be passively engaged in something else while I'm coloring. I cannot be actively engaged in something else while I'm coloring, unless, case in point, I don't care if the coloring comes out looking good. So, yeah, passive things only. 16, number 16. Just gonna pull one at random. Budget supplies are just as good as artist quality. True or false? Here's another one. Okay. We're just gonna real quick go back to what I said before about hang on, stop, rewind. Budget supplies are just as good as artist quality. My answer is false, but they are good enough. One's financial ability to purchase or not purchase certain, I guess, tier levels of supplies should not be a barrier to entry. I would say maybe do your best to get something, a little more grown up feeling. But if what you can afford and what you feel comfortable with is a familiar name like Crayola or Prang, then get the Crayolas, get the Prang paints. The Prang paints, these guys here, these are this thing here is amazing. It's 16 colors. I can't open it. Why can't I open it? There it is. Sorry, it's messy. I mean, you've seen these before, right? Okay, these beat Crayola watercolors straight out of the water, okay? They're so good. Get these. You can mix them. You can play with them. They don't granulate, whatever. They re-wet really, really easily. Watch. Hang on. Where's my paintbrush? There you go. We're just gonna use my jeans here. There we go. Look, they're super easy to wet. Like, here's an orange. Okay? The orange. Look at this. Yeah, that's nice. Granted, this is not watercolor paper. That's fine. Okay? Prang watercolors are amazing. Get them. I feel like this was like, I don't know, I feel like this was like $10 at Michael's, which probably means it's cheaper somewhere else. But, little thing, there it is. Get it, practice, so the colors aren't, they don't granulate. They're not, Daniel Smith or, M. Graham or whatever. So what? Practice using a brush. Practice water control, practice color theory. Have fun with it. Also, by the way, you can order a magenta for this separately. It's a little known secret. And mess with it. Crayola, mess with the Crayolas. I would say probably go with the pencils rather than the crayons, but tear the labels off of the crayons and make great big, great big strokes on your page and cover a lot of space. What do you like to work with? Find out. Use the budget supplies. I would recommend using the budget supplies from names that are familiar to you. I would recommend using the student supplies, the student line of better brands. Winsor and Newton Cotman, or Premier Scholar, or I don't know if it's Premier, but Prismacolor Scholar, or was it Faber-Castell in the red box? I mean, look for the student lines in these in the better brands to practice with. The difference is, I mean, they're using the same pigments as their professional quality stuff. They just have they have the fillers, or there's less of it or something, but it's cheaper, and and you don't have to You don't have to feel like you're locked out just because you can't afford the good stuff, you know? Um, Another option is to go ahead and get, the whatever, I don't know. I don't know their names. I don't know their names. Um, Color is one. I think they have lots of different sizes of sets, and one of them is 520. So, get your. I think 520 is way too many personally, but you know, get get yourself whatever $30 will get you from a Color set, and then maybe also get a, at minimum a 20 or 24 piece set of um, you know polychromos or whatever. Get a small set, not a 12. 12 sets are kind of worthless, but 24, 36, those are a good starter size set. Look at me giving advice like I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, no, budget supplies, they don't have like light fastness or whatever, but they're fine. Just keep in mind there are supply companies who give away free product like crazy so as to have people like us advertising them for free. And then there are supply companies who don't give away free stuff because they don't need help selling them. So I don't know. Make of that what you want. I don't care about light fastness. I don't put things on the wall. I do care about products that are easy to use. Okay, finally, number 17. The quantity of completed pages compromises the quality. Okay, this one made me a little upset. Who's in charge of deciding what quality is? That's my answer. Yeah, that's my answer. My goodness sakes, that was easy. Okay, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and not edit this because I don't know how, and I'm gonna upload it to YouTube because that's something I do know how to do. And if you made it this far, put an emoji of the little paint palette in the comments. Also, I am going to be doing a flip through, I think tomorrow, of, yeah, let's see, that. Yeah. So be on the lookout for that and let me know. I know that Joe already did this, but if you don't know Joe or if you like me, too, or whatever, that's a stupid thing to say. Anyway, if you want to see a second flip through, a flip through that isn't Joe, of this book, this He-Man She-Ra book, um, you know, let me know that too. Otherwise, be on the lookout for the Godzilla flip through, which should be out for you in 24 hours, give or take. Radio, thanks a lot, friends. Have a good one. Bye.